In the first on point, we discussed the soft signaling by India after IAF video on Operation Sindoor hints at having attacked Pakistan's nuclear site in Kirana Hills. In the second on point, we discussed how experts are suggesting that Xi's purge could lead to military action abroad. In the third on point, the factors driving a rise in cancer deaths in the national capital. And now let's take a quick look at the headlines. Supreme Court stays UGC equity regulation says regulations are prima facie vague and capable of misuse. Union Minister, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman tables economic survey 25-26. Survey sees GDP at 6.8 to 7.272% for financial year 2027. Ajit Pawar's family and supporters pay last respects to Baramati's sons. Senior leaders including Union Home Minister Amit Shah and NCP Chief Sharad Pawar attend. Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau initiates probe into the crash that killed Ajit Pawar. Report to be forwarded to state government. The Indian Air Force's Republic Day video on Operation Sindoor has revived the debate over whether a sensitive Pakistani nuclear facility at Kirana Hills was targeted during last year's strikes. The video posted on the IAF official X handle shows visuals of Rafale, Sukhoi, Jaguar and Tejas fighter jets along with footage of Pakistani military installations being hit. It is titled The Enforcers of Peace. Despite the imagery, the Air Force has denied carrying out any strike on Kirana Hills. During briefing last year, then Director General of Air Operations Air Marshal A.K. Bharti had said that India did not target the site. Asked again about the latest video, the IAF reiterated that it stands by its earlier position.
At Kirana Hill houses some nuclear installation. We did not know about it. Okay. And we've not hit Kirana Hills, whatever is there.
It also shows strikes on Noor Khan Air Base and other key Pakistani military locations during Operation Sindoor. A recent Swiss report had claimed that the Indian strikes forced Pakistan to seek peace. Set to the tune of the Mahisasur Mardini, the video features the Sindoor formation of fighter jets, projecting the IAF as the guarantor and the enforcer of peace. Speculations over Kirana Hills had surfaced last year because the area is believed to store Pakistan's nuclear warheads. Satellite imagery from the June 25 analyzed by the geointelligence researcher Damien Simon had appeared to show signs of missile impact at this site. The video also offers rare visuals of the IAF weapon systems. Rafale jets are seen armed with Meteor beyond visual range missiles, while Sukhoi fighter carry Astra air-to-air missiles and BrahMos cruise missiles. Jaguar aircrafts are shown with SRAM, short-range missiles, and Rafale with Hammer and Rampage precision-guided weapons. The visuals appear aimed at countering claims that India neither possessed nor used advanced missile systems during the operations. The strategic messaging in the Republic Day video is being widely interpreted as strategic signaling rather than a direct admission. On record, the IAF continues to deny targeting the site, but the visuals of the Sargodha link location, the emphasis on long-range precision weapons, and the language of being the enforcer of peace point to an intent to demonstrate capability without crossing the line of formal acknowledgement. This creates deliberate ambiguity, reinforcing deterrence while avoiding diplomatic or strategic escalation that would follow an explicit confirmation of a strike near a nuclear storage facility. In effect, the message appears to be capability is on display, but confirmation is withheld. So does this signal a doctrinal shift? India's nuclear doctrine framed in 2003 rests on clear principles: no first use, minimum credible deterrence, and retaliation only as a last resort. It treats nuclear weapons primarily as political tools of deterrence, not as instruments of war fighting. For over 2 decades, India has maintained that posture even while strengthening its capabilities and completing its nuclear triad with land, air and sea-based delivery systems. Analysts points to the use of deliberate ambiguity, showcasing reach and precision near sensitive strategic assets as a form of deterrence through uncertainty. The idea of introducing a degree of unpredictability into India's nuclear posture had surfaced as early as 2016, when the Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar said India should not bind itself too rigidly to declared positions, even while underlining that there was no policy shift.
One aspect is if a written down strategy exists or you take a stand really on a nuclear aspect, I think you are actually giving away your strength in nuclear. Nuclear concept. Why a lot of people say that India has not first used nuclear concept? Why should I bind myself to a... I should say I am a responsible nuclear power and I will not use it irresponsibly. This is my thinking. Some of them may immediately tomorrow flash, particularly the nuclear doctrine has changed. It's not changed in any government policy. But my concept, I am also individual. And as an individual I get feeling sometimes. Why do I say that I am not going to use it first? I am not saying that you have to use it first just because you don't decide that you don't use it.
Now, Pakistan's nuclear doctrine, by contrast, is built on strategic ambiguity. Islamabad has never formally published a comprehensive policy but has articulated 4 broad red lines: territorial loss, destruction of major military forces, economic strangulation, and political destabilization that could trigger nuclear use. It is against this backdrop that India's signalling is also aimed at calling out Pakistan's nuclear bluff. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has repeatedly said that nuclear blackmail will not dictate India's response to terrorism or conventional aggression.
पाकिस्तान में हुई तबाही इतनी बड़ी है कि रोज नए नए खुलासे हो रहे हैं, नई नई जानकारियां आ रही हैं। अब भारत ने तय कर लिया है इन न्यूक्लियर की धमकियों को अब हम सहने वाले नहीं हैं। न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल लंबे अरसे से चलाया, अब वो ब्लैकमेल नहीं सहा जाएगा।
Projecting proximity to sensitive strategic assets while avoiding explicit acknowledgement, India appears to be reinforcing that message. That Pakistan's nuclear thresholds do not automatically shield its military infrastructure from conventional retaliation. In that sense, the Kirana Hill debate is not only about whether a site was stuck, but about redefining the credibility of deterrence narratives. The doctrine remains formally unchanged, but the grammar of deterrence may be undergoing a subtle shift from declared restraint to demonstrative reach. On this issue, I am joined by Air Commodore Dr. Ashwinder Singh Bahal and Major General Rajan Kochar. Your opening comments, Dr. Bahal.
First thing I would like to say is thank you very much for calling me with my esteemed co-panelist who's also there, Jai Hind. And, there are two things. What is the difference between doctrine and strategy? Doctrine means is the fundamental principles of utilizing whatever weapon systems or your tools of warfare are. So when you want to utilize a nuclear weapon, we have said our doctrine is no first use, no use against non-nuclear states. And in case we are attacked with nuclear weapons, then massive retaliation. So that is our nuclear doctrine. But strategy is how you utilize that weapon system actually. And that is where our former defense minister, when he says that in my mind, if there is a situation, it's also a tool of warfare. So, but I'm not saying our doctrine has changed, and our doctrine is pretty clear. The second part that I want to say is a very important thing is that there is no doubt in my mind that Indian Air Force is the strategic enforcer of peace, both in terms of having a long-range precision capability, flexibly employed from anywhere from our islands, as well as right up to Pakistan or China or any part of the Indian Ocean, with the reach that we have today. And secondly, in terms of air defense, the Indian Air Force is the primary instrument which coordinates and integrates with the Army's air defense systems, but the primary responsibility for air defense lies with the Indian Air Force, and that is why we have the integrated air command and control system, which is linked with the Akash Tir of the Army, and multiple such systems all over the country are being linked, and I think majority of them have already been linked, with the result that we found that even when 600 drones came in, the weapon systems that were best in line were utilized, and we also created a world record by hitting at a high value asset at 314 kilometers with the help of S-400. So what I want to tell you is, yes, Indian Air Force is also one of the strategic enforcers of peace, as is the Indian Army and the Indian Navy.
General Kocher, there is a madman element which is built into the Pakistani nuclear doctrine, the threshold thing, that Pakistan is very unreliable, uncertain with the weapons they have in their possession. So, don't push them so far. The fallout or the analysis of the video that has been released, and which clearly shows a half-a-second clip, that we are also calling off that element of madman doctrine which the Pakistan uses, that we are very unreliable, so logic will not work with us. So we have also called that second line of bluff.
Kartikeya, see, this is a very delicate issue and a very important issue to understand, that who will decide the threshold, because in your opening remarks, you made a mention that there are, 4 conditions on which Pakistan will resort to the nuclear strike. What is the threshold level? If it is a loss of territory, how much of loss of territory? And if it is a loss of combat formations or loss of a town or a city, who will decide that the red line has been crossed? So that is why there is a strategic ambiguity which has been built into the Pakistani nuclear doctrine, because they can justify the strike based on what they feel like. So that makes them a very irresponsible nation. And that is why I am of the very strong opinion that a different point of views may be there, but I am of very strong opinion that we should not limit our doctrine to no first use, because in the fog of war, exactly the time which it would take to carry out your second strike, and by the time you realize the enemy has launched its first nuclear strike, that time is very, very critical in this entire in this entire issue. So that is point number 1. Point number 2 is to understand that there is a nuclear agreement which was, I think, signed on 1st January 1991. It was concluded sometime in December 1988 or something like that, but it got effective in 91, which clearly suggests that none of the two countries are going to strike at their nuclear facilities. As we saw this visual on the Kirana Hills, and point of the Indian Air Force is very, very valid to suggest that we don't know what is there. So we can't be blamed if a particular projectile or a bomb lands beyond Sargodha into some kind of a mountain which is called Kirana, because we are not aware of what is inside that. And why I'm saying that.
Okay, let me then rephrase my question, sir. What sort of narrative does it say? It's a war of narratives. I know there are certain things which can be talked on TV. There are certain things which cannot be talked on TV. So let's talk what we can talk on TV. What message does it send? What narrative does it set for Bharat?
The narrative which is setting for Bharat, which we saw these strikes, is there is no place in Pakistan which Pakistan can feel that it's secure from the Indian strikes. So that actually amplifies is that previously uh, in 71 war also, we never hit these areas inside Punjab, inside the heartland, near Rawalpindi and all these areas. So this is the first time a strategic messaging has gone through, as per your question to me, that it tells Pakistan that there is no place now in Pakistan where the Pakistanis can hide themselves, and they can be targeted from the length and breadth of the country. Second important is, why I'm actually saying this is because of the technology we have today. Because in 71 or subsequently, we never had that kind of a technology that from within our own country we could strike any place in Pakistan, because unfortunately the geographical constitute of Pakistan is that it lacks, strategic depth. So most of its air bases, formations, even if you take Baluchistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, they can be addressed by the Indian Air Force, Indian missiles, and the might of the Indian Army. So I think that is a stronger message which is going to Pakistan today, and they're clearly rattled, because if I see those kind of papers written in Pakistan in their defense journal as well as in their Dawn newspaper, they've been unsettled by this kind of strike by India, because earlier they thought that India could not hit deep, but today, as Group Captain Bahl has said, that we have that kind of range. Even your S-400 could actually go to
Okay.
314 kilometers.
Okay. Dr. Bahal, in popular language, it is "ghar mein ghus ke marenge," but it is also about that the responsibility of restraint was always on India. If you looked at international narrative, कि Pakistan कुछ भी कर ले, India should show the restraint. It happened in Kargil also. So I think that narrative is also being broken.
Absolutely, and very importantly, we are sending a very clear message to Pakistan, like the general was also saying, that there is no place to hide. And when we talk of, actually, if you just go, because after I was asked that I must come to this show, so I just went over what is given about Kirana Hills in the open domain. And you will be very surprised. Everything is given there, that there are 10 underground tunnels, and that it is reinforced concrete with steel, and there are 6 entrances, and there are more which are being developed, and that they carried out the tests sometime between 1983 to 1990. 24 subcritical tests were carried out besides the Chagai test which took place later. And Kushab heavy nuclear reactor is just about 75 kilometers from there, and this is 200 kilometers from Islamabad. And remember where the Indian Air Force hit. I must highlight this, that first we hit Noor Khan base. And other bases I'm not going to name, you are aware of them. And the second base we hit, also important bases, we hit was Sargodha. Now, Noor Khan is very close to Islamabad. It is very close to Army, Navy, Air Force headquarters. It is very close to strategic plans divisions. It's very close to Nuclear Command Authority. And as per one American writer, the Pakistanis were extremely scared that we destroy their Nuclear Command Authority. And the second thing, their Strategic Air Mobility Command is also at Noor Khan. The next important issue is Sargodha. Can you believe it's just 8 kilometers from Kirana Hills as the crow flies from the perimeter of Sargodha airfield, and it's southeast. And the bomb that you are showing exploding, it is actually very close to the number 1 entrance of the Kirana Hills. So if this video is correct, I'm not sure, because the Air Force has denied that any specific targeting was carried out, and that we were not aiming or in any way interested in targeting the nuclear weapon systems. But the message is very clear to Pakistan, that you cannot continue to blackmail us with this key. When you go to Tampa, you say we'll take half the world along with you. And now what happens in case we strike your nuclear weapons before you use them? Your own country will be destroyed. And if you remember, at that period of time, there was a flight radar 24 flight data tracking report which said that American B-350 AMS aircraft. They even gave the tail number. N111SZ has overflown Kirana Hills to see if there is any radiological leaks or any nuclear leaks that have taken place. And they even carried boron, which is supposed to suppress nuclear radiations and supposed to absorb them. So now this is, again, it is speculative, A. And B, its authenticity has not been verified. I want to say that. But that the fear factor that came in at that period of time when they were talking that Indian Air Force can go and hit at their nuclear weapons, which are nuclear arsenal that is stored over there, which can cause devastation, and that America was worried, is another thing that came out. So are these nuclear weapons Indian or American or what? So we don't know. Nobody, it's all speculation. But I want to highlight one thing with respect to all this. Do not take India for granted. Do not think your nuclear weapons are going to save you. Absolutely. That in case you continue with the way that you are doing and promoting, not just the Talibanis that are not going to leave you or the Baluchis that are not going to leave you, Indians will hit you where it hurts the maximum.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me. And I think Operation Sindoor, Pakistan is still smarting under the slap which India delivered to Pakistan under the ongoing Operation Sindoor. I think they are not going to forget that. So they are only busy building narratives, because what has happened on the ground, everyone knows the story. So this was on point one. In the second on point, we'll discuss how experts are calling out Xi Jinping's bluff with regards to the purges that is taking place in PLA, but after a short break, and what does it mean for neighborhood?
रिश्तों को रंग दो, दुनिया को रंग दो।
Birla Opus Paints.
बढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
Indian Racing Festival, only on Star Sports and Jio Hotstar.
तेरी एक जिद और फैक्ट्री वर्कर सब डबल।
रिटायर हो जाऊं क्या? अच्छा, बिजनेस के लिए लोन का आइडिया किसका था? पर बुढ़ापा आ गया हो।
इनकी जिद ने कारोबार भी बढ़ाया और रोजगार भी, टाटा कैपिटल बिजनेस लोन्स के साथ।
China's sudden purge of its top military leadership is raising fresh questions about President Xi Jinping's grip on power and whether internal instability could make Beijing more or less unpredictable. Former Foreign Secretary Vijay Gokhale warns that the official Chinese explanation should not be taken at face value and that India and other neighbors must remain alert rather than reassured by the sign of turmoil inside the Communist Party and the People's Liberation Army. Last week, China confirmed the detention of two of its most senior generals, Zhang Yuxia, and Vice Chairman of the Central Military Commission, Liu Zhenli, the Chief of Joint Staff Department. Zhang was not just a top officer but a long-time associate of Xi. Since the Communist Party's Congress in 2022, 5 of the Xi's 6 handpicked military leaders have now fallen in what analysts describe as an unprecedented purge. The official Chinese line is that the generals were guilty of serious political and disciplinary violations. But former Foreign Secretary Vijay Gokhale cautions against accepting that narrative. Writing in an op-ed, Gokhale says depending on Western interpretations to comprehend what is happening inside China may not be wisest course of action. He argues that the Chinese history shows a pattern of purges being justified through accusation of betrayal and corruption while masking deeper political struggles. Gokhale notes that even Mao and Deng faced internal challenges and adds that Xi may be confronting similar pressures today. According to him, the scale of the purge suggests